Okay, good to go.
Call this meeting to order. Is that me or is that you, young lady?
That's you.
Okay, I'll officially call this tourism meeting to order. I'll let you take it from there, Sydney.
Okay, I will read the land acknowledgement statement. The city of Thorold is situated on treaty land. The land is steeped in the rich history of the First Nations, such as the Hattaway-Durrong and the Haudenosaunee and the Anishinaabe, including the Mississaugas of the Credit First Nation. There are many First Nation, Métis, and Inuit people from across Turtle Island that live and work in Niagara today. The city of Thorold stands with all Indigenous people, past and present, in promoting the wise stewardship of the lands on which we live.
Thank you, Sydney, for that. We appreciate you. Are there any declarations of interest at this point? Can I get a mover and a seconder to adopt the agenda? Is that starting now, Sydney? Yeah. Okay, got a Marcia and then Mary Claire.
Thank you.
Okay. Can I just welcome Nella to the crew today? Thank you so much, Nella. And thank you everyone for coming today. But I just want to thank Nella from our representative of council, Nella Decker. I don't know if everybody knows Nella, but she's a friend of mine. I'd consider her.
Thank you, everyone. Glad to be part of the team.
Thank you. We definitely wanted representation from our council so that anything that we have can be taken seriously and move forward in the proper direction. So I thank you, Nella, for stepping up to the plate for us as a tourism committee. Do I need to carry on? No, I'm new at this, by the way, so I fumble my way through these meetings. And so after 3 or 4 years, I feel a bit competent, but right at this moment, I'm not feeling it. Sydney guides me quite well. Sydney, by moving on then to the minutes.
So I just need to call the question first. So if you'd like to call the vote.
Okay, I'll call the question of those opposed and in favor of the agenda being passed. Can I get a raise of hands there? Okay, we got 5, including me.
Okay, and now you can move on to the adoption of the minutes.
Yeah, so this would be the, can I get a mover or seconder to adopt the minutes from our February 8th meeting? Okay, Marcia, and then Marilyn took a slug of drink, so we'll consider that a yes. The seconder. Thank you, Marcia. Thank you, Terry Lynn. Thank you so much too. All those I'll ask the question. I'll call the question. All those in favor, please raise your hands for that to adopt our minutes. Okay. Looking good. I'm just going to go back to the agenda on my phone, so just give me a second, guys. Okay, so correspondence. We're moving on to next. City guide me a little bit there. What am I looking for on that?
Mr. Chair, there's no items for correspondence this week, so we can move on to committee business.
Perfect. So our committee business now will be, I just have my script that you gave me, City. I'm just going to follow along with that, of course. Yeah. Committee business is we are trying to drive that work plan, what we want to come in this next 4 years that we do work on this together. I did get some correspondence about the cruise ships. We'll move on to that next. But first, Ken, you want to talk about our work plan a little bit and what we're expected to be doing here as a work plan?
Sure. So at our previous meeting, we started, had a very broad conversation about topics and actions that this sort of committee wanted to work towards. So what I've done to support the committee was plotted those on the work plan, which was part of the agenda that was set out under the subcategories and actions. And I felt that, working towards sort of completing that work plan. So again, as the staff liaison, it's not my role to fill that out and have you approve it, but to work with you to get that completed, because again, it's your work plan. So I think that might be a good next step if the chair wants to walk us through that.
Yes, I do. I'm just trying to make sure I got the right one there. I'm not thinking I'd have that actual agenda itself on my phone for some reason, but I did have it, but I think I might have screwed up and swiped it away. Cindy, can you just resend me a copy of the agenda? Or George, do you have it in front of you? George, could you carry on? You're on mute at the moment, George.
I can resend you the
No,
agenda.
I don't have it.
No worries. Yeah, if you could just hit me with that quickly, Sydney. Yeah, sorry about that. I think I hit it for some reason by mistake. If anybody else has the agenda and wants to start poking through the start of it for us, that'd be fine by me, by the way. I'm not afraid.
So if it would be helpful, what I can do is I do have the draft work plan that was included in the agenda open. I can share my screen so everyone can sort of look at it jointly, and then perhaps that might be a good starting point.
That'd be great.
The host has disabled participant screen sharing.
There you go. You should be good to do it now.
Fabulous. Okay, so we had more thoughts on the branding opportunity. I did talk to Ken about this in a different situation there, and obviously this has to go through council, and there has been some kickback, not kickback per se, but people love the brand that it is at the moment. And I know some of our people are not hugely in love with it. I just did get the agenda, by the way. So just, I'm seeing a selection of chair and vice chair still on there and stuff like that. Am I the right one?
Sorry, I can resend it. I might have sent the old agenda.
Yeah, I think that's what I got, unfortunately.
Tim, when you're talking about the brand, are you talking about the logo?
Yeah, like the ships that ply the lake there, the
Oh,
logo.
you guys are wanting to change that?
Well, we're wanting to maybe add to it, or give it more oomph to it or something like that. We know it's been around for, how long has it been around, Nella? Would you know?
Oh, it's only been around, so that got changed maybe, I don't even think 10 years ago,
Yeah, I was thinking about
that logo. And I know it was brought up to council, my first term of council, to possibly change it. And we had a lot of resistance to change it because everyone loved that logo. So I'm not sure how that's going to fly.
Yeah, I didn't know whether it was a change of logo or an addition of the logo, how it would be. We're just discussing it, how to drag more people in, and whether
I think from my point of view anyway, it wasn't necessarily the logo. It was more the website not matching the logo, because the website tagline is "Welcome to the Rhythm of Thorold." So if it's going to be, like where the ships climb the mountain or what have you, then I think it should be all that, as opposed to just bringing like "Welcome to the Rhythm of Thorold." And I think the tourism site website is not even working right now. I'm trying to pull it up, but it's not coming up. But that was just my comments on that one part of it. Just sort of like, if we're all aligned with one brand, then we can move forward with that one brand, right? And create the vision from there.
Does that make sense, Nella? I haven't been on the tourism website personally, to be honest.
Yeah, I don't know if the website was created by Venture Niagara originally. And now that we're not partnered with Venture Niagara, we may have to create our own website through the city of Thorold. Maybe Sydney can help with that. I'm not sure. Because I know that the city's now taken over tourism, so that might have to be updated through them.
So maybe that's more what we're looking at, is trying to make sure that we have a website to start.
Yeah,
If it's- Sydney, does that make sense, or Ken?
Yeah, through you, Mr. Chair. If you like, I can invite Megan McRae to our next meeting. She does communications for the city,
That'd be
and you can
excellent.
have a discussion with her about that as a committee.
Perfect. And maybe we could talk on maybe adding some of the stuff to it, that what we see missing and how it works. And that'd be good.
So if I may,
had-
in my budget, there was dollars earmarked for the Thorold Tourism website redesign. That was sort of one of the things that I noticed when I started here. So again, before the committee was even formed, that the website was outdated and needed to be refreshed. So that is something I'm actively working on, and I have a meeting with the CAO next week to discuss that procurement process, because we'll be going outside the city to do that. So I've spoken to Megan about this extensively, so I don't think it's needed to bring her into this conversation. But what might be beneficial is when we do move forward with the redevelopment of that website, is maybe involving the chair from the committee as part of that process, so you can provide some of that input. So it's just not a 100% staff initiative.
Okay, I'd be proud to be a part of that conversation. Okay, so part of the stuff we would want to do, and I would try to, what we talked about last meeting was do our focus on our heritage and our cycling tourism, and any other of the ideas that we want to add to that. Maybe we should discuss that quickly here before I end up getting in a meeting. I want to represent everybody on that. Anybody else have any thoughts that we'd want on that?
May I make a suggestion for you, Mr. Chair? I think Thorold is rich with rural community areas, and certainly many people travel to our area, our region, due to our rural nature and our open scapes and our trails and that sort of thing. Although I see cycling as being valuable, any kind of active transportation is extremely valuable. And if it possible, I mean, we have some wonderful areas here that people can come and explore as they do in other areas in the region. If somehow we could talk about green spaces, greenscapes, green something or other, to bring people, making people realize that we are certainly an urban area, but with vast amount of rural space for people to explore.
Agreed. I enjoy all of our areas to wander about here. Brock Quarry, Melswart. I'm a big dog walking kind of guy, so I enjoy a lot of the greenscape that we do have, and keep adding them to me, Mary Claire, anytime that you have. I know the local walk is part of our world here too. I've never done it personally, but I know there's some other spots. If you got more, please add them in.
Well, we certainly, the path that was put into the Lower Secord House, St. John's Conservation Area. We've got a lot down Holland Road. We have a lot of area go out to Port Robinson around the pond they have there. There's a lot of beautiful places for people to go and visit. And I think we would certainly want to promote that to get people to get their way from other communities in our area and come to Thorold. So thank you.
Okay, great. Ken, I think we can take that down if you'd like now. I've got the agenda in front of me. There we go. And anybody else want to add to that part of the conversation that we want to get on board with our tour? Go ahead, Marcia.
Also possibly sports tourism. There's a lot of sports tourism in Thorold. especially now we have the walkers and there's tournaments every weekend.
Mm.
For every sport, volleyball every weekend, there's hockey tournaments from all different areas. So it's definitely, we have hundreds of people coming to Thorold every weekend for tournaments. And it's not just 25 cyclists, it's literally hundreds every weekend that we don't, well, in a given tournament, we can have up to 300 kids and plus families, right? So maybe that's a market too that we should start looking into, tapping into, that they're here and we can introduce them to those paths and things to do while they're here also.
Yeah, I agree. George?
Yeah, just capping on there what Marcia said. I know sometimes in the newspapers you see something, what's happening in whatever city this weekend, and just going on with what she had. If we could perhaps get the Village News engaged in that, to sort of highlight the tournaments or any cycling activities if there's organized, just to say what's happening in Thorold, for the next week type of thing, or the same thing during March break. Like somebody had mentioned about like the St. John's Pond about fishing, which we're a little bit early, but just little things that the media could highlight for us if we could get the reporter on board with us to start reporting those things. I know it would probably only be attracting like locals, but that's still a form of tourism. If we can get our local people to engage in some of the things, it becomes a word of mouth thing.
I'm just wondering, do we have I know we at the Lock 7, we have that flyer set up where you have some, Marcia, you have your stuff at the Lock 7? Do you have your business?
I do, yes. I
Yeah.
have stuff and product at Lock 7.
Yeah, you have flyers to direct them to your businesses and the pizza place too?
We worked with Venture Niagara as a BIA and we created records that were Sue put in all at Lock 7 plus all the stops. So like at the outlet one, when you go to Beansville, that Tim Hortons, like I'm not sure what they're called, where you stop and it's all that hub.
Yep, I know that one. Yeah, Gateway.
Yeah, so Sue had organized that our records for the Thorold BIA are in, I want to say she got them in 7 along the highway for us. And
Nice.
that was all done. So it was promoting people.
Where I'm going with that is I love those rack cards in the arena. I'd like them at the news center to when these events are happening, the volleyball tournaments, the hockey tournaments, the wrestling tournaments that are going to be happening at Brock in the next while. These are spots where your businesses and our low and our other businesses in Thorold should be rack carded up. So those moms that are waiting while their kids getting dressed for hockey can wander and grab and say, this is where we can go for a little in-between game move, because I know that's often what we're doing when my kids were little and we're at the hockey tournament, trying to figure out where to go to eat, what to do when we have that 4-hour gap, et cetera, what we're going to do the next day. So if we can maybe get that kind of system going there and maybe have a little thorough tourism version of it with what we think, a little flyer rack card, what to do today in Thorold kind of thing.
It's on my agenda for the BIA once we get formed, is creating a workable map that we kind of did before with Sue.
Mhm.
And that it could be used for baseball, volleyball, track and field, that sports tourism and just tourism in general. But that is something that I'm hoping that our new BIA will look at and invest in, because it is something that, people do want to do, or when they're laid over at their hotel and they have time because they were doing, at their Airbnb because they came for vacation, what to do. So multi-use.
Yeah. Is this a thing that we could make useful through the internet somehow too, when people are Googling Thorold or looking at our Thorold city website? Is our city website useful for tourism, would you guys say?
No, horrible.
Yeah. It doesn't help for tourism. So maybe
Doesn't
that's-
hurt for anybody.
Yeah, it's kind of hard to dig into stuff, actually. I've tried a few times. Which way you try and look at stuff there, it kind of brings up weird bits and you have to kind of decipher what you're looking at. So maybe that's something that I don't know whether that's us alone or whether it's the Heritage Committee too and BIA that we can push forward through council to try and improve our website itself for the city.
I just have a question for Ken, if I may, just clarification, and I hope I'm not out of line by asking, but do you have the numbers that you've been approved by council budget-wise to put towards tourism? Like if it's in the budget to redo the website and all that kind of stuff, just so we know what the council priorities are for it?
Was that question, or, yeah?
Through the chair.
Yeah.
There was approximately $10,000 allocated for website and promotional work. That's part of the economic development budget, which tourism is on my desk. So there is no specifically tourism related budget at this time.
Thank you.
May I make a suggestion? Because I noted it when had our first meeting. And I guess I hadn't noted it prior when I was on the previous committee. There seems to be some wonderful committees, well, there are wonderful committees, who are working in their committees, but there's overlap between their interests of one committee and another. And I'm wondering through Sydney and Ken, is there a way of committees sending out just like a monthly committee news to share with the other committees what the priorities and what they're working on? So just as I believe it was Marcia or Tara Lynn just mentioned, we could work together in order to accomplish these rather than spits and sparts. Might be very valuable for committees to work together on common goals, and also the BIA. So thank you very much.
Go ahead, Sydney.
Through you, Mr. Chair, I can definitely speak to Matthew about that and see if we can put together a newsletter of sorts for the committees.
That'd be awesome, especially with all the emails going out this week asking other committees for their info. That'd be really nice.
Agreed. I would love that. We have been approached by the Heritage Committee to have somebody join our committee too. So we're just, George and I had got an email about the Heritage Committee wanting to have a member in this committee. Marcia, you're on the BIA still?
Oh, gosh, yeah. So is Terry Lynn, actually. She's one of our new board members.
Fabulous. Congratulations, Terry. That's amazing. And I appreciate your efforts and volunteers, and that's awesome. There were some questions whether they're allowed to join or something. Ken or Sydney, I'm not sure who to approach this with, but go ahead, Sydney. Yeah.
So through you, if you would like a representative from the Heritage Committee on this committee, you would just need to make a motion to amend your terms of reference to have a Heritage Committee rep on this one, and then that would go to council for final approval.
Okay. So would I do that now, or should I hold out for another part of this show?
It's up to you if you would like to make that motion in one.
I would put a motion on the floor to add a Heritage Committee member to this committee, just to help with us and within what they need to do in their committee too. I feel like they should be covered by tourism because it is part of our tourism world. So I put a motion on the floor for that. Can I get a seconder? Marcia seconding. Yeah, there we go. Okay, and we'll put that to vote then, Sydney, correct? Okay, if we can put our hands up if you agree with adding a Heritage Committee person to the thing. Okay, looking like we're okay there. I know the coverage before on the previous tourism committee through Joe. So now they requested if they could have that, and I'm not afraid of having someone else help us in any way. Okay, I'm just going to carry on back on to what we were focusing on a little bit last month was, Marcia's looking for input where to put the chair. Anybody have any fancy ideas where Marcia could put her Muskoka chair? Just, at the Kissing Rock, I thought was a nice spot too. I feel like it could be moved around, but anybody else? I'm just going back over what we did last year or last week so we can go. But so Ken, and another point was we want some signage. Would we have to ask through Nella to do that, or we ask for you to get a budget for some more signage that's on the Canal Pass itself for Thorold?
I know they were working on updating the signage last year. I'm not sure where they're at with that. What type of signage are you looking for?
We just noticed some gaps, like where you're coming in from St. Catharines Way, to kind of lead people into Thorold a little bit, saying it is Thorold now. Where that spot would be, I'm not 100% sure, but we know that there is some different spots where it doesn't say you're actually in Thorold.
Are you talking Canal Road or?
The Canal Path itself, where a lot of cyclists are coming, is where we're talking now. So towards the GM end there, There's actually, it doesn't say welcome to Thorold, or you're entering Thorold, or have our sign that we do have now, even something of that. Yeah,
I can have a look. I'm not sure how that would come to council.
I think it'd be a staff report, no, Nella?
I'd have to ask for a staff report problem. Perhaps Ken can answer that question.
yeah, Ken's got it. Go ahead, Ken.
So I will keep talking until Sydney corrects me. I think there's two ways that could be brought forward. One would be as a council report, but I think the more appropriate way would be to have the Tourism Advisory Committee make a recommendation to council. And then it would be up to council to decide whether that's an action that council wishes to allocate funds to, because currently I think that's unbudgeted. So you could make the motion, but if there's no dollars attached to it, then you don't get any signage.
Understood.
So one thing that we could do as part of our work plan is to identify the amount of signage, determine what the signage should look like, get quotes on how much the signage would cost. And then that would be what we would bring to, by we, I mean this committee, could then bring to council making an ask.
So identify the areas first. And how do we source out how much these things cost? Do we ask you, Ken?
Probably
I think
Jeff,
that-
actually. Jeff
It's-
usually does my signs down here.
What I could do is I can follow up with Jeff's team, because I know that they've done some work for the Legion in the past on a similar ask. So if this is so again, until I'm directed by this committee, that we're just talking about it, but yes, you could definitely direct staff to, I think, look into that and then report back to the committee. And that could form the basis of the committee bringing something to council.
I understand. Well, I would like to maybe, I'm going on vacation right now, but when I come back, I will definitely do a quick tour of what the canal path itself offers for people coming that way. I know it was talked about at the last meeting. I did not get down there yet to go look at that, but I would like to pump our own tires and push people towards our downtown if we could get people to come into Thorold itself. So I will check signs when I go back, when I'm dog walking in the next couple of weeks. And I will bring that to the next meeting and give an idea of where it goes. And if anybody else wants to come for a walk, I dare you. All right. And what would we go ahead, Marcia? I'm sorry, Nella. Marcia first, then Nella.
Could we also ask Sydney or whoever to reach out to the other committees and see if they are also looking for signage for different things? I mean, if we're gonna do a big signage thing, it might make sense if we're like, right thing said about working all together, maybe someone else, was planning on doing that also. Right? So we're not wasting our time and city time if there's already a project they're looking at to do the same thing.
Ken?
So just as an example, based on what Marcia said, is I think Marcia's right in terms of reaching out to other committees to see if there's perhaps a larger ask here, because this could be the foundation of a larger wayfinding campaign. So rather than the scope being just along the canal, like the canal pathway, it could be much larger in scope, which again is tourism related, but it also connects with other committees. So these are just a lot of avenues you can go down, but I think Marcia is right. This could have a much larger scope, and we might be doing a disservice if we do not collaborate with other committees.
I agreed. I would not want to not include them or get their minds involved either, because I'm sure that we'd love to have signs like on the 406 leading people downtown.
Or to Port Robinson or Allenburg or Thorold South or any of those wonderful communities that have something for everybody.
Offer, absolutely. Absolutely. Nella, did you have something else on this?
The chair. Had you looked at where were you looking for the chair? I mean, you could always look at the Lock 7 Tourism Center. I mean, that would be a good spot for it perhaps, or maybe our
City
new,
staff was concerned that it's too big because it is massive, that they don't have, it's too, it goes on a hill. That's why it goes down. It's not a flat surface over there.
what about Beaver Dams Park?
No,
No?
we know better. But we originally wanted in Beaver Dams Park, but there's still so much work to do there that it was probably going to get moved 100 times before they finish that park. And then the other option was maybe down by the hydro by Coconut Cannabis. There's that little parkette there.
I don't think you'll get a lot of people that would see it there. I'm just thinking more of a tourism.
Oh, we were too
perspective.
originally, yeah, but
But you
it's
want
hard
to
now.
have it- You want to have it somewhere where people are gonna
Use it.
use it and see it right away. That's why I thought those two spots. I mean, you can always look at Melsport Park as well, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I like it there. I actually went through Battle of Beaver Dams the other day with the dog, man. Oof, so dirty already. It was sad. It hurt my heart to walk through it and know the potential of it, and then see that looks like somebody took 10 garbage bags and threw them in the air. So gross. I don't know who cleans that, but it's unfortunate. I picked up as much as I could when you got a dog going. Yeah. Like
Are you talking garbage, Tim? Or are you talking other?
great apple juice box cans, et cetera, et cetera. It was pretty awful.
I can send an email for someone to go have a look through the park and clean it up.
Yeah, I think it needs to be at least looked at a couple times a week, because I know there's a lot of traffic in there.
Yeah.
Not the greatest traffic, and I'm sure that's why Marcia's afraid to put the chair in there. Some
May
of
I
that
make,
is
sorry,
fair.
through you, Mr. Chair, thinking of a location, at least an initial location that may draw some publicity to this Muskoka chair. Do we have the right to put anything on the Canada Games site? You've got all these people coming for all sorts, because I walk the track and walk around Brock. I don't know whether we have the right to do that, even as a temporary, have it there for 4 months and then move it to a different location. We'd get some publicity from it. We'd get some traction from it. And then it could come with the logo of the City of Thorold and that sort of thing, so that people know, okay, you know what, with some signage and whatever, this is where we go to see the rest of the community. A thought.
I like it.
Yeah, I don't mind it one bit either.
Or just a,
I'm not sure about that. I might have to refer that to Sydney, only because Canada Games Park does have 3 owners. So advertising just Thorold and not the other 2 could cause some problems, even though it is on the Thorold side of things. So that would be something that would have to go through the proper channels. Although that's a nice idea, there are 3 owners of that Summer Games facility. So
Yeah, I'm sure anywhere we're trying to try and drop this chair is going to be an ask, no matter what, right? So whether it's at the community credit union, they're going to, everybody's going to have to be asked for sure. So
I mean,
It's
yeah,
500 pounds. It's big.
that's why you want to maybe look at a park or something, but for the Canada Summer Game Center, that would have to go through probably the consortium partners to see if that would work. So
Maybe, like she said, though, it could be a temporary thing, like introduce it for a month and then it's going to its permanent home after or something.
Yeah.
regardless, it still has to go through the proper channels.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, yeah. Just as the number of things going on up there that Brock University is involved in and promoting themselves. And they have they've got the massive sign out in front, which I don't see why we can't access
What
to
sign?
promote Thorold, right on the corner of what is that, Isaac Brock now and Merrittville. There's a lot of different, because as was mentioned by Marcia, there's a lot of people going through that park on a daily basis. So we should be able to creatively come up with ways that we can promote the City of Thorold. But as I said, it doesn't have to be a permanent thing. 2 weeks, this sign goes up, a week, this sign goes up. We've got different things going on. Maybe the chair's there for 3 or 4 months.
No,
and
I
then moves on.
understand. I understand that,
Yeah.
Mary Claire. I'll have to go look at the Summer Games facility. I go there every other day to walk. I
Right.
haven't seen a sign for Brock on the actual property. So we're
No,
talking.
I'm sorry. I'm referring to the promotion of the Brock Badgers games and that sort of thing, which is on the sign on the corner there that rotates Canada Games. And if you want to rent the property and,
Right,
that sort of
that's-
thing.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
perhaps because they play there, the Badgers, so.
Yeah.
As for a chair promoting Thorold tourism, that's a different thing. So we'll have to send that through our CAO to see how that would work.
Okay, thank you.
I just want to ask Marcia a question. The chair, the plan is to drop it somewhere permanently though, really, right?
Except for we want to bring it out for events. We've talked to the city. So when we have our big welcome event, or we can bring that back out, bring it out onto the street and pay for it to be moved over onto the street to do for photo ops and stuff. But we'll see. It doesn't mean it's ever going to get moved, but we understand it. I know there's going to be a cost to putting a cement pad and things, and that we were planning for last season. So it's something we already kind of have budgeted from last year, because we'd have to have it locked down. It's something that requires chains and locks. I hate to say it, but it's just $3,000 I don't want to see walking away.
No doubt. Is it viable to have it at Mel Swart then, or we'd have to put a pad
Oh, we
down?
can go in any park. Like like I said, we looked at Kissing Rock, but when we looked at the ground wasn't flat enough for the size of it. It's the big one that you see outside Great Wolf Lodge. It's huge.
Yeah, yeah.
It fits a couple people, the one in Collingwood. So they're nice and big, but it's just a matter of the land has to fit. I mean, it could work at Beaver Dams, but with no adequate lighting, it's really hard. Like that was our original plan, but like I said, it's a hard one because you wouldn't see it there either sometimes. So Mel Stewart could work though. I mean, I'm open to any. I just want it out of the garage. It's a great photo op.
It is a fun photo op. Okay, a marketing plan is on the agenda also here for us. Anybody, we like, I'm not sure we can start with that kind of thing. Like, I'm seeing that we really want to go with a plan of some ilk for ourselves to move forward as the years come by. But I need somebody with more acumen than me to talk on this. So whether it's Terry or whether Marcia, go ahead if you'd like.
I would like to see a strategic plan done for tourism in Thorold. Something that is a 3 to 4 year plan that could be followed. We have great resources that we can use for companies to go out for go out for tender and things like that. But I think we need to plan out the next 3 or 4 years. And I think that's always been something we're lacking as a city. We don't plan ahead and we don't have a plan of action. We come to these meetings and we talk, but there's no set. And I know they're doing that with the work plan, but I think a strategic plan would really bring that all together.
Yeah. Okay. And how do we do that moving forward? Terry, do you have?
No, I was going to say, I agree with Marcia. I don't know if that's something that somebody at city staff would do. I don't know whether Ken, Sydney, or Nella could answer that for us, because that's a great idea, having a 3 to 5 year plan so that, things are moving forward. Because right now it just seems to be sort of, as it happens, we throw a lot of ideas out, but if I understood correctly from Ken, there actually is no tourism budget. So it's hard to make anything happen without a budget.
So through the chair, I can give an example of what could be done to George's point in terms of budget. Part of the city's strategic plan from 2020 to 2023 was to develop an economic development strategy. In order to develop that strategy, I'm actually writing it myself because I have the background and experience, because there's no budget to retain an external consultant. So part of, I could include within the economic development strategy, developing a tourism marketing plan that if this, and again, this goes back to if that is within the economic development strategy that gets approved, then this tourism committee could say, yes, we want to move forward with this. We should perhaps call, I'm going to use Tim as the example, to call a consultant or two to get a sense of what the cost of a 3 to 4 year strategic action plan for tourism for the city of Thorold might cost. And then you could bring that motion to council requesting X number of dollars. So again, it wouldn't be a 2023 action, but it could be a 2024 action item. Does that make sense?
I appreciate that. Yes, it does.
I have lots of resources for you, Tim, if you want to move forward.
Absolutely. I think that
That
we,
I have, yeah, through Obia, we have, they have a list of companies that do strategic plans that could get you, going, at least getting you quotes and things. If that's something you want to look at, I can definitely put you in contact with that.
I would definitely be interested in doing it properly and leaving a mark on the city. That we're not doing this for to hear each other talk. That's for sure. Don't want to blow air bubbles out there. I prefer to actually have things happen and leave a legacy in our city properly. And so I think that's our job as a tourism committee. So these are, yeah, for sure. So I will definitely work on that when I come back from vacation too. Marsha, you can send that to me though. I'll be reading on my vacation. So it's not about.
Yeah, I'll send an email out to everybody and get the companies that every other BIA has used.
Yes.
And you can use those as your sources.
Fabulous. And then they can just give me numbers and I can go to talk with Ken afterwards, I guess, on that. See what's happening. We did talk last time on the tour.
Through you, Mr. Chair, if I could just interrupt. We all received an email from Marilyn Fraser. She couldn't get back in.
Oh.
So Sydney, there's an email from her that she was unable to get back in.
Okay, I will resend her the Zoom link. Thank you
Okay.
for letting me know.
Thank you.
Right. Thank you. I didn't see that. So we were talking about the cruise ships that are coming through and docking at Port Colborne. So I talked to their tourism committee man. He's not committee. He's actually a paid employee. They have a paid employee in Port Colborne for tourism. Who could believe it? So good for them. They have many ships coming through. They have a really a dock that's lacking at the moment right there. That's hard for people to get off. It's not the best situation. They are improving it. They've got some money. Ken and I were talking about this. That's being allotted to build the docks on the opposite side, rebuild the docks that are there. They've corroded, and need millions of dollars. So there has been some money allotted through the federal government, Ken.
Yeah.
But that's in-kind money, I guess, is what you're saying. So that means,
sorry, through the chair, just to clarify, it's not in-kind funding. They've been allocated X number of millions of dollars, but they can only access that money when they have matching funding.
Port Colborne caught us talking about.
All right, can we just pause for one moment?
Absolutely.
The recording stopped. There we go.
Perfect. So Ken and I discussed how this would look for us as a city of Thorold, how we would actually get those people off the cruise ship and here. And for us, it would actually be somebody having to open a business to do that, right? It would have to have somebody with the shuttle bus setting up their itineraries for the day, making that actually happen and getting them off the boats to come to us. So whether that's encouraging somebody who's got the nerve that does it already in Niagara Falls to bring people through Thorold, showing them the amount, like the itinerary has to be spot on. It has to be sent like within the next 6 weeks by somebody who would be running that business. It would be a business. It would be a good business, by the way, possibly, because you could probably be hunting shuttle buses to, on Tuesdays to Thorold and on Thursdays to, Wainfleet per se, let's say, to the beaches of wherever and stuff like that. But I don't see it as us, as the city of Thorold, buying a shuttle bus and employing somebody to go pick up the people and driving them around that kind of way. So I don't know, at some point, maybe we'll have a dock in Thorold. Ken, could you do that for us? Where they could stop here. That was another thing that Mr. Highbottom from Port Colborne was mentioning, that, a dock would be something to be possible too in Thorold. But once again, that's a huge number that we're not going to get. They had to stop a couple of times in Thorold, I guess, on the edge. Is that, Ken, did you hear that? He talked to me, and something was wrong with the shipping system or something like that. So they did stop. Those cruise ships stopped by the old Ontario paper, I guess, and hung out for a moment or three in that little bay there. But realistically for us, I don't know if we're going to be getting in the next 4 years, they won't even have those docks in Port Colborne. So I think it's a bigger thing. They have 70 something boats going through this year. So quite interesting. Go ahead, Marcia.
In the last month that I've had about 3 boat captains come in the pizzeria that we've discussed, just as I said, we were talking about this. And they were saying how in the past, we used to do the light up the boat contest where they used to put the Christmas lights on, and they really missed those days where it was like a tourism thing where they would literally want to decorate their boats and put the lights on. And we did get people coming down to see it. They were also saying that the facility at Lock 7, he sends his crew down to go talk to people. The one gentleman I was talking to, he goes, but now the way it's set up, it's not really good for that anymore, that we'd have to work with the Seaway to make it better, because like it doesn't promote that anymore, like where you could have that interaction that he said you can't have it at Lock 3 because the way they're built. But at Lock 7, we have the added benefit of being able for people to talk to the crew because it comes to a level. And he says that's something that the city should be looking into, or whoever's in charge of tourism, because it's something we have that the other lock doesn't have. That you can literally carry on a conversation about, like, because we do it. We hand food over all the time. They'll order subs at Lock 3 and then we bring them to Lock 7. So they were all kind of saying that that's kind of missing now with the ships. There's no nothing with the community. They used to like coming through Thorold because there was that interaction, the lights, the things, and that's been gone for a while. So it was just a fluke they came in, that none of them were on ship. It was just a nice coincidence, but it was nice to hear that we had something that St. Catharines didn't.
Marilyn, you're on mute, by the way.
Thanks. I can remember a time when my stepkids were young. We could go over there when they first started bringing the cruise ships up. Now, mind you, I was having conniption fits. They used to take people off the ships, the cruise ships here in Thorold, and then buzz them right away to Niagara Falls or Niagara on the Lake. They should be able to develop something like that again, but perhaps getting to the other side of the lock over here. Those darn fencing wasn't up. It would work quite well. I'm on ships all the time. I spend about half the year on different ships. It can be done. It can be done fairly easily, actually. However, that fencing and whatever this stuff is down here that's piled up, if that wasn't there and things were developed, there is some place to take them off.
Are you talking to Thorold South?
No, right here. I'm on Welland Street over by Lock 7.
Okay, nice.
You can't take them off. They were taking them off while they were going up and down in Lock 7, which I'm surprised nobody ever got killed doing it because they did it so bad. They were doing it on step ladders, actually. It was absolutely horrendous. But if they got to the other side of the lock, they could do it. There is the room. I mean, you have to fix that space up and get rid of whatever those metal things are. But it could be done. I know from the many ships that I've been on, river cruises and ocean cruises, that it could be done.
What do you think of that, Ken? Nella? Having people get docked here. We would have to get part of the itinerary through the cruise line.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I think you would have to work with the Seaway on that. I mean, I know before when the bridge and the walkways were there, we used to get to walk across. My dad worked for the Seaway all his life, and it was different back then.
Yeah.
I would think we would have to get permission from the Seaway to have them.
Oh, no doubt of that.
I'm not really
need to
sure.
work with it.
That's not my expertise, but perhaps Ken can answer that.
Yeah. Through the chair, it is definitely the responsibility of the St. Lawrence Seaway Management Company. And I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but as a result of 9/11, the United States mandated more secured borders around critical infrastructure, and that includes the Welland Canal, which is why you see the fencing that's up. So in order to sort of move forward with something like that, you'd actually have to be in compliance with marine security.
They are in Port Colborne, obviously. Then I know that they do have they're already vetted, I guess, for their passports, etc. It's not like they're walking into Canada from somewhere.
And
so it is a passport issue, etc.
And if you'll notice through the chair at the city of Port Colborne, where the boats are docking, they are actually having to clear security before they can actually exit that docking area and go to the city of Port Colborne and board the bus that brings them across the bridge. So again, that would be a barrier, but it is a conversation that I'm more than happy to have with their manager of business development.
Marcia, you're not on mute. Okay, everybody.
Poor Ken.
Go ahead, Marilyn.
As far as passports is concerned, every single person on every single passenger ship has a passport. That they can't get on the ship without a passport. I mean, it has to be worked in on everything, but they must have passports. Some of the Americans, it absolutely kills them when they're told they have to have passports, but it doesn't matter. As soon as they are, there's only one time where Americans don't need passports. This is not it. They have to have passports. So that part of it is a given.
Mm-hmm.
The part on the other side of Lock 7, sorry, I'm a great one for talking with my hands. The section on the other side of Lock 7, that way, doesn't have that fencing. I don't know why. It doesn't have that fencing and could be worked in there. And I guess I better shut up or they'll be putting the fence up.
No, I believe that's the part on the other side. Like I used to drive for Coventry and pick up the pilots and the captains and stuff. And that's on the other side. Back in there is where we would actually pick up the guys, the crews, and drive them to their house or drive them to the airport or etc. So I don't think the fencing's on that side on purpose. I don't think it's accessible by too many people that go that way. But okay, so we would love to have the cruise ship opportunity, but I believe it's something we're it's going to be hard pressed for us to do immediately. And as I was saying, you would have to have some sort of itinerary set up in the next 6 weeks to start for next year. So if we really want to try and figure this out some way, we would have to have somebody to dare to have a business to go get the people down in Port Colborne for us and then bring them forward to us. So I'm sure we subsidize them somehow, but that would be a big ask of someone. They'd already have to have a cut going. My friend runs a company in the Falls doing that. Jay Galella, he picks people up and takes them from the hotels to all the tourist spots for them, kind of thing. And I think it's $75 or something for the cruise, kind of thing. Somebody picks up over the river in the States, etc. Back in the day, but like these things are, for real, and it's a business. So it's not just us as a city saying, hey, we're going to go pick up some people. It would be wishful thinking in that sense. But anyways, I think we have to move on to the roundtable discussion if we could, everyone.
And I'd just make one final suggestion, if I could. Through the Hamilton Oshawa Port Authority, which is now doing wonderful things in Thorold South with the facility there, the old paper facility there. Wouldn't they be also someone to contact and talk to about what could be done to park a cruise ship for a period of time and people disembark, because they obviously have docking space on that side with everything being opened up there as is.
So through the chair, as the manager of economic development, I sit on a advisory committee with the property owners, BioVel, that own the old paper mill, as well as the former Hayes Dana facility, which they now refer to as BioVel 1 and BioVel 2, where HOPA is the property manager. I can definitely bring this to them. I am reluctant that it will be accepted, because that's not the core focus of their business. In the same way that if you look at the Hamilton port, it's very much geared toward industry. They are doing the same thing here in Thorold, but if this committee would like me to make that ask, I can definitely do that.
I believe that's how Port Coburn's, they're using an industrial area right now to get their people off to, correct?
So the dock that is being used in Port Colborne is on the east side of the canal, but it is, their downtown is directly adjacent on the west side of the canal. So it's very easy for, and this is what I was telling the chair earlier, is that the city funded a small bus to pick up passengers off the cruise ship and bring them into the downtown area. The challenge with accessing what's at the BioVeld 1 is that it's, I don't want to say it's in the middle of nowhere, but it's not readily accessible to get to our downtown. They literally have to take a bus and get on Highway 58 and be brought over. So again, there's challenges there.
Yes, I understand. I wouldn't hate if you would mention it to them, and just to give an example of what Port Colborne is doing, and whether for us, I don't see it happening 5 days a week here. So whether we rented a bus off of a Coventry or those kind of people for that day to get people to come to the downtown, if they're so interested, I don't, you know what I mean? I feel like there's still possible hope there. Nella, what do you think of all this?
I'm just listening.
Yeah. Do you feel like that would be an opportunity for us though? That we could possibly those cruise ships to say, oh, today's the day we're going to stop and Thorold for a change?
I don't see it happening right away.
No, it wouldn't be.
I mean, I've been talking, and Ken will know that I've been trying to push for Lock 7 to have a little cafe there, so that when tourists do come into stop at Lock 7, there would be a cafe there. They could sit and have some lunch, and then they could work their way downtown. I've been working on that since my first term of council, so I would love to see more activity happening around that area. So I'm not sure, maybe, you know, when we get somebody to help with our tourism plan, that could be something that could go in there. So I'm all about seeing activity happening there. Ken knows that that's one of my, that would be one of my wishes. So I could see it happening down the road for sure.
We did talk about Lock 7 last meeting actually, and the tree and foliage, and George had mentioned that there's a lot of stuff that stops the view a lot of times from there. Again, when I was on the tourism committee last round, we had it cleared out. I guess somebody said it cost like 30 grand to get it tidied up, that CN rail part down below there that
Yes, so that could be CN Rail's responsibility, between CN Rail and the Seaway.
yeah, it was pushed forward by our committee. So Ken, you talked on it last time. The reality is it's a lot of money to get it cleaned up. I think they did a one-time shot for us or something. Ken?
Through the chair, I know that staff in the past have cleaned that area. It is the responsibility of CN. It is their property. So again, that's just sort of the reality of the situation.
We need a midnight cut down. Guys, it's getting to that point. We need to start the roundtable if we could. Anybody want to start the roundtable? Yeah, Terry Lynn, please.
Because I'm assuming that our next meeting will be in April and we're starting to get into tourism season coming up here. I guess this is through the air to Ken, if possible. I'm assuming that it's going to be summer students that will be working the Lock 7 area there. So there'll be City of Thorold employees at the point, the summer students. And I was just curious if we were able to get anywhere on what the script is going to be, what the questions that those students will be filling out, what the hours will be, any of that kind of stuff, just because we won't be meeting again until April. And I would guess that they would be starting in April-ish.
Through the chair, the plan is to have the Lock 7 open for the May 2-4 weekend, which I do believe is May 19th. We have the jobs posted for what we're referring to as the customer service ambassadors for the city. They will be part of the pool of, and you are absolutely right, summer students who will work at the Lock 7, as well as other facilities owned and operated by the city. The script has not been developed as of yet. Right now, I'm waiting for one of my colleagues to take a look at what Venture Niagara had done in the past in terms of service delivery. And we expect to very much build off of what has been done in the past before we move forward,
Yeah.
before we move forward with opening the center in May.
Yeah, it would be fantastic to know how they heard of Thorold, why they're there, purpose, whether it's recreation, athleticism, any of that kind of stuff. But okay, awesome. And then it would close Labor Day, I'm guessing?
Through the chair, we have dedicated to maintaining the same schedule as Venture Niagara did in the previous year. So it'll actually be open until the Thanksgiving weekend. And through the chair, your apps, getting that visitor information and reasons for visits is the primary goal for operating the center this year, is to create a baseline for what's drawing tourists to the city that will help inform what ideally would be a strategic action plan going forward.
Sweet. Thank you. Thank you.
Anybody else want to go on the roundtable? Go ahead. Marilyn, you got anything on the roundtable? Go ahead, Marcia.
I'm still pushing. We need a separate tourism person. I'm gonna die on that one this year. I love Ken. Ken is amazing, but he needs to focus on economic development, and we need someone who's going to focus on tourism, who can give their 100% to tourism. And Ken signed up for economic development. He didn't sign up for tourism when he took this job. And I think the city needs to reevaluate their choices and actually go back to hiring somebody for tourism. I'm going to say it every time until it happens.
I think that we could make a motion to the floor that we would all agree with that we do need an actual tourism person. I know before it was Venture Niagara, it was Terry Dow, who did a great job on it too. So it makes no sense to me. And it doesn't make any dollars in our downtown when we don't have a tourism person committed to making these things happen. Whatever we say here is just going to be putting more anchors on Ken, unfortunately, and that's not fair to him. So I don't know, Nella, if you can bring that before our council, that our tourism committee, and I'm sure the heritage committee, and I'm sure the BIA all agree that we need.
So this is something new that the city wanted to try, is
nothing.
put the tourism under the city's umbrella. So I think they want to see how it's going to work and where it's going to go. And yeah, Sue was great, no doubt about that. Terry Dow was awesome when she, ran a lot of this stuff in Thorold. So we'll just have to see how things go. And that's something that they want to try.
But why not try it as a city employee that's tourism? Like, we're the only city that doesn't have a tourism employee.
I can't answer that for you. I'm working right now on getting an events planner position.
That too.
to run-
Don't get me
to run
started.
our events. So perhaps maybe at our next budget, we can try to introduce a tourism person. So, we get what we get right now, and we'll have to look at that perhaps maybe down the road.
Is okay. Thank you. Appreciate the answer. Anybody else got anything for the roundtable? I think I'm just going to review what I went through and mention. Ken's going to talk to HOPA. Hopefully, we can just give them a buzz in their head and think that they possibly think of the opportunities that could be there. I don't know if it's for them too, but it would definitely be for the city of Thorold. Marcia's going to give me some tourism marketing plan people. I am
Strategic plan.
Yeah, strategic planning people. Yes, thank you. And I am going to have a look at the signage. Ken, maybe set me up with the right people that might be working on some signage already. Thought process for those people too. And Sydney, you're going to set our group up with a heritage person. They already said they had somebody in mind. So if that person agrees to join our committee, does that make sense? Go ahead.
For you, you just have to bring the motion to council first to, because since you guys motion to amend the terms of reference. So if council approves that, then we can proceed with bringing a heritage person on board.
Okay, how do I do that?
So we've already done it. I'll take it from here and bring it to council.
Perfect, perfect. That's awesome. Okay, well, I see,
Through you, Mr. Chair, I apologize. Can I make just one suggestion?
Absolutely.
It's a budget issue to get somebody to do tourism, but we have Niagara College right here. They have a wonderful tourism program. We're hiring somebody for Lock 7 on an interim basis. Could not a student from Niagara College in the tourism program be hired for the April to August period? Oh, we've got your hand up already. Okay. To work under Ken in order to focus on some of these issues and take some of the load off his plate. Thank you very much.
Ken, what do you got?
Through the chair, I believe I mentioned it at the previous meeting, but if I didn't, I apologize. Part of staffing the Lock 7 Viewing Center this year will include what's being referred to as a Tourism Information Services Supervisor, which will be sort of
I don't think you did mention that now.
their role is to both manage the staff at the center, but also to take on some of that tourism duties in terms of tourism related social media, the Thorold Tourism website, and trying to do some of that community planning. So great idea, great minds think alike, and we are trying to move forward in that direction.
That's great. We didn't know that at all. That makes me a little bit happier. Marshall,
My apologies.
No worries. Yeah, that's a good one. And that's an active on the books looking for a person to do that, or they have somebody.
Through the chair, I've drafted the job description. It's with HR for approval. I plan on getting that posted this month to have that open for 2 to 3 weeks in order to have that person in place prior to the opening of the Lock 7 Viewing Center.
Herb, that's great news. I like that a lot. Okay, our next meeting will be April 13th, it looks like. Thursday, April. Same time, okay with everyone? Everybody cool with that? Put your hand down if you don't like it.
I would prefer an evening meeting, but
Yes,
because my lunch is until 2 o'clock. So
Aye.
I will do my best to get here for 1:30.
Hey, any adjustments can be made. Anybody have a problem with, do you want to do it at your lunch, Noah? Or Mary Claire, what do you got?
Well, this is not the best time for me. I mean, I want to stay on this committee. It's great stuff. Great things will be happening, I'm sure. But an evening meeting would work better for me personally. But I know when I was at the first meeting, this worked better for everybody else. So I'm more than willing to try and work around it.
I'm very flexible. I know I prefer not to drag the staff out at nighttime per se. I like them to get this done while they're getting paid. So I know that I have been on committees where it is in the evening, stuff like that. But if is there a time that works best for you, Mary? Or
no, I mean, I'm very flexible if this works for everybody, but there may be a time, let's say closer to 4 o'clock or something like that, that might look a little better. 1:30 is kind of in the middle of the day. Just, yeah.
Well, anybody, Terry Lynn, Marilyn, anybody else got issues? And George had to leave, by the way. He sent me a private message. He was committed to something else. Marcia, any times that you hate?
I can never do 4 o'clock. I have kids.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a late
Once
one.
they're gone, it'd be a different story. So by the time this committee ends, at the end of the 4 years, they'll both be off to college or university. So it'll be a different story in 4 years, but 3 years.
All right. Well, we'll see then. But
Yeah.
does anybody have a problem with 2 o'clock maybe to do it instead, so Nella can come and not be burdened? Would everybody okay with 2 o'clock for the next meeting? Want to try that?
Sure. That works
That
for
would be
me.
great for me because I'm in Port Colborne now, so it's hard for me to if
we
it
got-
works. If not, I will do my best to get on at 1:30.
Well, Ken, Sydney, how are you two? You guys are cool with that? rock and roll. Next meeting, we're going to do it 2 o'clock then.
Thank
Yes?
you.
All
We have
right,
to.
thank you very much.
Just up for
Clerk.
clarification, is it just next meeting at 2 p.m. or would you like to make a motion that going forward, all meetings will be at 2 p.m.?
I'm good with that. Let's make a motion. I'll put a motion on the floor to move the meetings to 2 p.m. on Thursdays, the second Thursday of the month. Okay?
Thank you, guys.
Marcia? Show of hands, just to get that passed, please. Thank you so much. Okay, so meetings are 2 p.m., second Thursday of the month. Guys, I am going to put some suntan lotion on. And
Have a good trip.
Enjoy,
Florida.
be safe.
yep, 17 hours drive. We'll see how quick I can do it. But thank you guys.
I'll see you in a couple hours.
Thank you.
Look forward to seeing you next month. And if there's anything you want to bring on to the floor, don't be shy, okay? Maybe just give us a pre-hit so we can add it to the agenda through Ken and through Sydney, okay? Thank you, guys. Have a great weekend.
Call
Take
the
care.
meeting to end.
Thank you.
Adjourn the meeting. Take care.